Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the 2001 NHL Draft and of course looking upon all the picks. Now this is the second video of the series. We're doing all the drafts, 2000 up to the 2017 draft, and we already looked at the 2000 draft, so if you haven't seen that, that's going to be in the channel down below. That was going to be one of the weaker drafts that you see throughout the series, but it still is a decent draft. You saw kind of like that first 2000 draft where you saw a lot of decent players, so a couple of fantastic players too, but not some real superstars. But you saw a lot of steady, great players. And obviously there's a lot more guys to talk about throughout the rounds than there was in the 2000 draft. Now starting off round one, there's 3 players this time that did not play a game. In the first one, the 2000 NHL draft, there was a miraculous only 1 player that did not play an NHL game. With this one, there's 3 in the first round, which is still pretty decent. Now, to round out the top 3, you got Ilya Kovalchuk going first overall, Jason Spezza going second overall, and Alexander Zitsov. He was an Alexander, Alexandr, so no E in there. That must have mean that he was a bust. And he was. Third overall, he didn't play that many games. I think he was like around 170, something like that with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He just never really panned out, and he never really got to where he was supposed to be. And it was a shame, obviously, because he had good talent, but top 3 pick and not looking too good there. Now we'll start the first round. We'll go through all the players that played over 500 games. Now, to start off, of course, you got Ilya Kovalchuk first overall. He had 816 games played, 417 goals, 399 assists for 816 points. So a point per game, exactly him right there. And of course, he was drafted by Atlanta. It kind of was a shame because he left for the KHL, rumored to be coming back to the NHL, but he was a decent first overall pick. He wasn't one of the best of all time, but he's still a great talent. Of course, a point per game is still pretty decent. Second overall, you got Jason Spezza, who played 989 games, set to get 1,000 next year, 324 goals, 564 assists. That's a ton. 888 points. So 888 on the points marker there. And of course, he was playing with Ottawa and was drafted there. That starts to round out a bit. You got Stephen Weiss, 4th overall with Florida. He played 732 games, 156 goals, 267 assists for 423 points. Not the greatest pick there for 4th overall for the Florida Panthers. At number 6, you got Mikko Koivu, 925 games played, 193 goals, 466 assists for 659 points. And of course, he was drafted by Minnesota and is still playing with them. 7th overall, you got Mike Komisarek, 551 games played, 14 goals, 67 assists for 81 points, and he didn't even have that many penalty minutes. He was just pretty bad overall. He was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. He had 679 penalties a minute, so a pretty decent rate for him. And 9th overall, you got Tumo Arutu. It's 735 games played, 148 goals, 198 assists for 346 points. He was drafted by Chicago and sadly left a couple years before they won the Cup first off, which is pretty sad for him. Going to Carolina, that sucks. Then you got Dan Hughes, 12th overall. He has 1,031 games played, 59 goals, 284 assists for 343 points. And back then, of course, he was drafted by Nashville. The pick right after him, Alex Hemsky, 13th overall, 845 games played, 174 goals, 398 assists for 572 points. He was drafted by Edmonton, of course, had a few good seasons there. You have Chuck Kupesu, 14th overall, one of the best names in the draft. 601 games played, 110 goals, 100 assists for 210 points. He was drafted by Calgary. Then you go to 16th overall, RJ Umberger, 779 games played, 180 goals, 212 assists for 392 points. He was drafted by Vancouver. Then you got, for the last 2 picks, Marcel Goc, 20th overall, 636 games played, 75 goals, 113 assists for 188 points. He was drafted by San Jose. And last but not least, in the first round, for all the guys that played over 500 games, 23rd overall, Tim Gleason, 727 games played, 17 goals, 125 assists for 142 points. He was drafted by Ottawa. So rounding out that first round, you got 12 guys that played over 500 games. Not terrible. Now, starting off round 2, 32nd overall, you got Derek Roy, or Derek Roy, whatever you want to call him. 728 games played, 189 goals, 335 assists, 524 points. He was drafted by Buffalo there. 40th overall, Vador Tutin, 872 games played, 55 goals, 209 assists, 264 points. He was drafted by the New York Rangers. 49th overall, you got Mike Camilleri, 906 points, or 906 games played, 294 goals, 348 assists for 642 points. He was drafted by the LA Kings. Now, you got a bit of a funny one in Chris Forburn. He was drafted 50th overall, 800 games played, 53 goals, 81 assists, 134 points, 968 penalties and minutes, drafted by Buffalo. Then you got 55th overall, Jason Pominville. He has 987 games played again, close to Jason Spezza in the games played, about to get 1,000 next season. 277 goals, 419 assists for 696 goals. He was drafted by Buffalo too. Buffalo not having a bad second round at all. A couple picks later, you got Jay McClellan, 57th overall, 906 games played, 90 goals, 154 assists, 244 points, drafted by St. Louis, and of course, that's the end of the second round, going on to the third round. Now, to start off the third round, you got 71st overall, Thomas Bolkanek. He has 998 games played, 2 off for 1,000, so close there. He has 232 goals, 375 assists for 607 points. He was drafted by Montreal, of course. Then you got 73rd overall, Craig Anderson, 564 games played, of course, the first goalie on this list, by the way. 914 save percentage, 2.76 goals against average. This was the second time, actually, that he was drafted. He was first drafted by Calgary in 1999, and now in 2001, drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. At 93 overall, you got Stefan, I'm trying to pronounce this name, Value. Let's just have that. 506 games played, 50 goals, 56 assists, 106 points. He went through all the trouble of having a really wacky name for me to just have a pretty, and gotta have over 500 games played. Number 95 overall, you got Patrick Sharp, 939 games played, 287 goals, 333 assists, all even there, 620 points, and he, being, of course, originally drafted by Philadelphia. Now, that was the last pick of the third round. We're going on to the fourth round here. Now, it was a very short fourth round. Starting off, you got 98th overall, Jordan Tutu, 723 games played, 65 goals, 96 assists for 161 points. He was drafted by Nashville, has over 1,000 penalties and minutes. Sad to see him have to end his career like that, but glad he's doing a lot better. 106 overall, you got Christian Ehrhoff, and 789 games played, 74 goals, 265 assists for 339 points. He was originally drafted by San Jose, and there's only 2 guys in the fourth round that played over 500 games being drafted from there, and now we're on to the crazy fifth and sixth round. Now, starting out the fifth round, you got Kevin Bieksa, 808 games played, 603 goals, 215 assists, 278 points. Drafted by Vancouver, has 1,124 penalties and minutes. Pretty crazy there. And 161st overall, you got Mike Smith, 529 games played, 913 save percentage, 269 nice goals against average. He was originally drafted by these guys, the Dallas Stars. And then you go on to this round 6, where you got Dennis Seidenberg leading that. 859 games played, 44 goals, 207 assists for 251 points. He was drafted by Philadelphia originally. Then you got 176 overall, Marek Zidlicki, 836 games played, 89 goals, 328 assists for 417 points. He was originally drafted by NYR, New York Rangers. 192nd overall, you're jumping a little bit, you got UC Jokinen, 951 games played, 191 goals, 372 assists for 563 points. Another guy drafted by Dallas here. And then last but not least, the guy in the 6th round, you got Brooks Laich, 133rd overall, 776 games played, 134 goals, 198 assists for 332 points. He, of course, drafted by Ottawa there. Oh my gosh, so many numbers I'm having to tell. Hey, at least we only got one round left. You got a couple of guys in the 7th round. David Moss, 220th overall, 501 games played, 78 goals, 100 assists, 178 games played. And then you got 221st overall, Johnny Oduya, 850 games played, 41 goals, 144 assists for 190 points. And he was pretty much the last guy on this list. The 8th round didn't really have anybody. And the 9th round, I was gonna give a little bit of an honorable mention to P.A. Pemberton. He has 491 games played. He was so close to that. 114 goals, 182 assists for 296 points. Almost there in the 9th round. Pretty much a steal there too. And again, it is pretty similar to that 2000 draft where you saw a lot of decent guys come out of it, but you also saw some pretty good steals late in the draft. You didn't see anybody in those a couple of last ones, but you saw some good rounds in both the 4th and the 5th round, especially that 5th and 6th round. You saw a couple of great steals there, and unlike the 2001, there was quite a few busts in the first round as well, but you saw some great draft steals, which is always fun to see. But a couple of great goaltenders coming out of this draft, both being pretty much steals. I mean, Craig Anderson, 73rd overall, you pretty much a lot more worth than a 3rd round pick. So you saw some good steals there. And you saw some good overall players. You didn't see some superstars. Jason Spezza was a superstar for a little bit. Ilya Kovalchuk was a superstar for a little bit. But you saw some good players come out of this draft for sure. Probably going to be one of the weaker ones that we see from this series, but still a decent one overall. But again, you got some great players coming out of the draft like Jason Spezza, Mikko Koivu, Ilya Kovalchuk, Mike Smith, Craig Anderson, Jason Pominville, Patrick Sharp, Kevin Bieksa. You got a lot of guys there that have come out of the draft and played pretty well. And you've seen some great players come out of this, and it was a decent draft for that 2001 draft, and it's going to be a good one. Just looking back on it, of course, but it was a good draft overall. It was a pretty solid one. I don't think it ever deserves to be in one of the best drafts ever. It's not going to be that. It's a pretty solid overall draft, but it's not going to be one of the best of all time. We're definitely going to see a lot better drafts coming up, especially the 2003 one coming in a couple of days, but it was a decent draft for the time, and we saw some good players come out of it who are still playing decent today. Now, just for fun, my top 5 from the draft, I go Jason Spezza, 1st overall, and then at number 2, I'm Mikko Koivu, and Ilya Kovalchuk, number 3. Now, the reason I have Mikko Koivu at number 2 is because he's been a captain for a long time for the Minnesota Wild. He's been there for a long time for the Minnesota Wild. He's great defensively, put up points, and he's been there for a while. Ilya Kovalchuk has ditched the NHL and gone on the KHL, and that's not really my favorite thing in the world, so I have Mikko Koivu higher than Ilya Kovalchuk. But Kovalchuk at 3rd overall still has a talent there, too. At number 4, I'm Mike Smith, and at number 5, I have Jason Pominville. There's a couple of guys like Patrick Sharp and Craig Anderson that could have fit in there, but I like those two better. Still, there's some good players coming out of this draft, and you can make a case for either or Craig Anderson or Patrick Sharp to fill those two bottom ones. And it's a decent draft coming out of it. Not going to be one of the best looking back, but it still is a decent draft that produced some solid players. But overall, compared to the 2000 draft, I felt like it was a little bit stronger, a little bit more solid, and you saw a lot more guys, a lot more superstars come out of it than the 2000 draft. 2000 draft was wacky. There was draft steals. There was a lot of draft busts in the first round. But with this one, it was a lot more solid, and you saw a lot more great players come out of it than the 2000 draft. I think overall, the 2001 was a good improvement over that 2000 draft. But even so, it's not going to be one of the best drafts that we see, especially coming up. But overall, yes, it was a solid draft. We saw some good goalies come out of it, some great skaters coming out of it, and some good defensemen. It was all around a solid draft, and there wasn't that many draft busts. There wasn't that many stuff compared to the 2000 draft. And all around, I think it was a better draft and a more solid one overall. And I think we can all agree with that. There was a lot more guys that came up and played fantastic in the NHL. Guys like Spezza, Kovalchuk. There was lots of guys that came in and played fantastic, a lot more than there was in the 2000 draft. So that's going to be what guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Tell me down below what you thought of this draft. What do you think of your top 5? What is your top 5 from this draft? And what do you think of the draft as a whole? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.